The North, a land of forests, bogs, and stony shores, where the blood of the first men still predominates. For thousands of years, House Stark has ruled this unforgiving land, first as the Kings of Winter, then as Wardens of the North.
Now, the surviving children of Lord Eddard Stark, steeled by their family words and the vengeance in their hearts, stand ready to defend their home. But as the Night King nears, a long-kept secret threatens to sever their newfound unity. This is the path to the throne, the Starks.
It begins with Brandon the Builder, who, according to legend, raised the Wall and Winterfell and perhaps more. The Starks, like the culture of the North, are insular. Though their armies have gone south numerous times, only the rare Lord of Winterfell carried south-run ambitions. Lord Rickard Stark, Ned's father, may have.
In the tense months before Robert's rebellion, Rickard and his children attended a tournament, which many believed to be cover for Prince Rhaegar to plot to overthrow his father. But events at the tournament quickly overshadowed the coup rumors, as Rhaegar bypassed his wife to name Lyanna the Queen of Love and Beauty.
Soon after, Lyanna and Rhaegar ran away together, wed and conceived a child. But the realm, including the Starks and Robert, her betrothed, believed Rhaegar had kidnapped Lyanna. When Rickard and his heir Brandon tried to get her back, the Mad King executed them. Robert's rebellion began. It ended with Robert as king, Rhaegar dead, and the Targaryen dynasty in tatters. Lyanna, we now know, died giving birth to Rhaegar's trueborn son, Aegon, whom Ned brought home. To safeguard the infant's identity and honor his promise to Lyanna, Ned passed him off as his own bastard, Jon Snow.
Ned's trueborn family grew too. Robb training to be Lord of Winterfell. Sansa dreaming of fair princes and pretty things. Arya, whose needle is for swordplay, not knitting. Bran, who dreamed of becoming a knight. And Rickon, the most temperamental.
Then there was Jon, whom Ned raised as a Stark in all but name, but whom Catelyn saw as a symbol of Ned's betrayal and a threat to her children's legacies. This is how we find House Stark as Season 1 dawns.
Portents abounded. The Night's Watchmen fled south, speaking of White Walkers. Ned and company found a dead stag, the sigil of House Baratheon, and a dead direwolf, the sigil of House Stark, and an animal not seen south of the Wall in centuries. And nearby, the wolf's newborn pups, one for each of the Stark children, plus Jon.
After Jon Arryn, the Hand of the King, died mysteriously, Robert journeyed north to offer Ned the post. Ned didn't want to go, but ultimately accepted, heading to the capital with Sansa and Arya. Bran, paralyzed after Jaime pushed him from a window, remained home with Cat, Rickon, and Robb, who stepped into his father's role, for there must always be a Stark in Winterfell.
When an assassin made an attempt on Bran's life, Cat, already wary of the Lannisters following her sister's warning, blamed them and went to King's Landing to warn Ned. On her return journey, she crossed paths with Tyrion and seized him. Jaime attacked Ned in retribution. The war between the Starks and the Lannisters had begun.
By the end of Season 1, fate had pulled the Starks apart. In King's Landing, Ned learned the truth about Joffrey and tried to secure a succession plan following Robert's death, but Joffrey ordered his execution. Sansa and Arya had both lost their direwolves. Sansa promised to Joffrey when Ned lived was now the Lannisters' prisoner, and Arya was on the run, in disguise. In the north, Jon took up his duties as a brother of the Night's Watch. Bran and Rickon remained at Winterfell, and Robb rode south to war, where Cat joined him.
Robb proved a gifted warrior, taking Jaime Lannister prisoner and becoming king in the north. But temptation led him astray, as he broke his marriage vow to the Freys by wedding Talisa. Discord crept into his camp before that, however, for Cat had freed the Kingslayer in an effort to win back Arya and Sansa.
In the span of what felt like moments, Robb went from emerging as the young wolf to losing Winterfell to Theon, losing trust, and ultimately losing his life at the Red Wedding, where Talisa, their unborn child, Grey Wind, Cat, and legions of Stark warriors also perished.
Back home, Bran's dreams had begun coming true, of Ned's death, of Theon's seizure of Winterfell. With Osha's help, Bran and Rickon escaped, thought dead to the world, and with the Reed's help, Bran set off to find the Three-Eyed Raven. On their trek, Bran's powers revealed themselves further. He could warg not only into his wolf, but into humans, an unheard-of gift. The brothers separated, and though Bran didn't spend as much time off-screen as Rickon nor die the moment he returned, he also lost his wolf. After Bran learned that the Children of the Forest created the White Walkers and saw so much more, the Night King touched Bran as he warged, then infiltrated the tree, killing the Raven, the children, Summer, and Hodor. Bran was now the Three-Eyed Raven. For much of the show's run, Arya's whereabouts also remained unknown to the realm. She embedded among Night's Watch recruits, then met Jaqen H'ghar and began sacrificing names to the Red God. She escaped Harrenhal only to be captured by the Brotherhood and then by the Hound. She kept checking names off her list, eventually sailing for Braavos and training to be a faceless man. She became no one, seemingly shedding her identity, but Arya ultimately stayed true, killing those on her list or in her way, but never killing just to kill. Her name led her back to Westeros, where she murdered Walder Frey for his role in the Red Wedding. One name Arya still hasn't checked off the list: Cersei, who kept Sansa in King's Landing. Sansa survived Joffrey's abuse and much more. After Joffrey's death, Sansa fled the city and Littlefinger took her to the Vale. But the horrors continued, with Peter's advances and Lysa's murder, and ultimately Littlefinger's decision to marry Sansa to Ramsay Bolton, her second forced marriage. She became a prisoner in her one-time home, raped and tormented. At last, she and Theon escaped. Brienne, who swore herself to Cat's daughter at last, then took Sansa to the Wall. But the brother she found there wasn't the one she remembered. Jon went to the Wall because he never felt like he belonged. But even a bastard can rise in the Watch, and Jon did. After surviving Mance Rayder's army and breaking his vows with the Greet, Jon held Castle Black against the Wildlings and rose to Lord Commander, armed with Valyrian
Steel, he killed a White Walker at Hardhome.
But then his men killed him because he'd brought wildlings south of the Wall to protect them. Resurrected by Melisandre and freed from his vows, Jon reunited with Sansa and they reclaimed Winterfell from Ramsay, the bannerman they worked so hard to win that named Jon King in the North.
Jon's new title didn't change his unconventional style. He welcomed 2 treacherous houses back into the fold despite protestations, then sent wildlings to man the wall, flouting tradition. After learning of Dragonstone's dragonglass, he set sail despite Sansa's plea for him not to repeat the mistakes Robb, Ned, and Rickard made by heading south.
Jon gave Winterfell to Sansa in his stead, and shortly after his departure, Bran and Arya independently returned home. Arya, after murdering legions of Freys and then briefly and beautifully reuniting with Nymeria. Bran renounced his claim to Winterfell, explaining his new life to his siblings, and ultimately used his gifts to help Arya and Sansa identify and thwart Littlefinger's plot. As Sansa read Peter's sins aloud, Arya slit his throat with his former dagger. Sibling goals!
Jon, meanwhile, had gone beyond the wall to fetch White, and just when his mission seemed doomed, Dany arrived with her dragons.
Jon declared for Dany, and on the ship back from Dragonstone, they consummated their budding love. As back in Winterfell, Bran and Sam pieced together Jon's true identity.
Entering Season 8, our once sprawling tale is converging on the North's seat of power, which means more reunions and complications. Ramsay once said, "If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention." For the sake of our beloved Starks, we must hope that isn't true.
While Jon has long championed the need to put petty human squabbles aside and band together to face the Night King, the humans are, in many ways, the biggest threat to Stark unity, in large part because the question of who is a Stark has never been more complex.
Bran has shed his claim and his identity. Before his fall, Bran wanted to be a knight, serving the realm, not his own ambition. Though his purpose has shifted, he's bound by purpose still. When the long night comes again, he told Sansa, "I need to be ready. Ready to see, ready to guide. But unless the internet's Bran as the Night King theory pans out, not ready to rule."
Though Arya, like Bran, briefly put the Stark name aside, her roots ultimately proved as deep as a weirwood's. Arya has never wanted to follow the traditional path nor sit the Iron Throne. The assassin no one lives in her still, but her vendettas center on her family. Keeping her family safe and the throne from those on her kill list will remain her nightly prayer.
At long last, we can be confident that she'll wage that war alongside Sansa. When they reunited and noted how little their father's tomb looked like him, Sansa said, "Everyone who knew his face is dead." Arya's 2-word reply stands as a hallmark of Stark endurance and a promise to avenge the horrors that have befallen their family. We're not. And in many ways, Sansa has emerged as Ned's truest heir, proudly of and for the North. She pushed Jon to fight and secure the Vale's alliance. She tried to prevent Jon from going south. She resisted Littlefinger's treachery. She won the allegiance of the Stark bannermen. She absorbed Cersei's instincts for preservation and strength, but none of her vileness. Robb once said, "From this time until the end of time, we are a free and independent kingdom." And Sansa, like her brother, seems focused not on ruling from the capital, but on securing northern liberty.
How she will balance those instincts with Jon's new alliance and the impending reveal of his true identity is a central tension entering Season 8. Jon's bannermen are unlikely to respond kindly to their king, returning with his new love by his side having bent the knee. They're even less likely to respond well to the truth that Jon is a Targaryen. Not long ago, Royce proclaimed, "A Targaryen cannot be trusted." Will Jon change that?
Remember what Ned once told Jon, "You may not have my name, but you have my blood." Jon is Lyanna's son as much as Rhaegar's, the Song of Ice and Fire given form. Is Jon the Prince, the last hero, Azor Ahai come again? Possibly. Regardless, he's the unifying force this story needs. If Jon can remember his own words to Theon about not having to choose, as his positioning among the Kings of Winter and the Crypts of Winterfell trailer seems to symbolize that he will, he can embrace his history and his future, and beat the Night King. The question has always been whether he'll save himself along the way.
The boy who was once so brash and entitled at the wall has long since quieted. He's reluctant to lead, though all the more adept at doing so as a result. Remember Beric's words to Jon, "Death is the enemy." Jon feels unworthy of his rebirth, but he's a soldier, and wants to protect. How he reconciles his relationship with Dany, with his declaration that he serves the North, and his desire to save lives and not play politics remains to be seen.
To be the sword in the darkness in the North or beyond, he'll need Arya and Sansa to remember Ned's words. When the snows fall and the white winds blow, the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives. Arya may in part be no one, Bran the Three-Eyed Raven, Sansa a rising leader, Jon part Targaryen, but together they're a family and humanity's best hope. Winter is here, and the Starks aren't going anywhere.